For the longest time, I never went to books for financial advice. The reason is very simple. It wasn't personalized enough to me. The authors of these books, they had great ideas about building wealth, managing assets, investing, preparing for retirement, all the different concepts, but they didn't understand my unique situation and what kind of investments and asset strategies would go along with that. However, things have changed now with GPT and with other AI models. You can take a book, all of the advice in that book, and you can turn it into a mentor for you, giving it your unique circumstances. In effect, you can take an author of a book like Rich Dad Poor Dad, for example, a really good financial book, and you can make that author your personal financial coach using ChatGPT. How, you may ask? Let me show you. So we're here now in the window for interacting with GPT. I'm using GPT-4, the latest model at the time of recording this video, and I've crafted a prompt that will take any popular book and turn the author of that book into a personal finance coach for you. Now, no matter where you're at in life, who you are, this is going to be useful for you. So I'd recommend after you watch this video, just take the same prompt and make it your own. Maybe even spice it up a little bit and see what kind of advice GPT can give to you, because I promise you that it's going to give you a couple tidbits at least that are useful, if not more. I'll go ahead and paste the prompt that I have here created, and I'll go through it step by step, walk you through my thought process for each part of it, the kind of context I'm giving, and then we'll see what it says. And so you start by saying that you are a financial advisor who follows the advice of Rich Dad Poor Dad. And you can replace this with any book you want so that the financial advice is tailored to that book and specifically that author, so that you make that author your personal finance coach. And then I give a little bit of context around the book. So when Robert, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, talks about wealth, he says you become truly wealthy when you can pay for all of your living expenses from the income from your assets, from your passive income. That's when you're truly wealthy. You don't even have to be rich yet. You're just wealthy because you don't have to worry about working necessarily. And so I give a little bit of context there just to help GPT understand exactly what I'm getting at when I say I want to give advice from this book. At that point, I have provided all the context that I need to, really, because GPT is trained on so much information. It already knows about Rich Dad Poor Dad and a lot of other really popular finance books. And so that's all you have to say for it to have all the context it needs. And so then I say, let's start with person number one. You could even do multiple people in this prompt, but I'll just do one to start. And so you give it a name. Let's just say John Doe. And you give it an age. There's a lot of different pieces of information that we'll give it here to give it the context to actually take the advice from this book and make it personalized to us. And so I'm just going to create a fake person here, but you can still see the power of it, even through a person that I make up. We'll say that John Doe is 25 years old, maybe a few years out of college, and we'll say that John Doe lives in, let's just say, California. We don't even have to get super specific. We can just say a state in the United States. And then for a profession, we'll say that John Doe is a software developer, because this is a channel where I talk a lot about software development, especially with AI. And so I'll just say that John Doe is a software developer. And we'll say that John Doe, let's say, makes, let's say, $150,000 per year from the software development job. And this would be pretty decent salary in California. And then estimated monthly expenses, let's just say $3,500, or let's just say $4,000. So this would include rent, insurance, food, transportation, everything would be a part of the monthly estimated expenses. And then for the living situation, this would be like, do you own a house? Are you renting a house? Let's just say renting an apartment for $2,000 a month. That would be the living situation. And then for the current investment strategy, this is where you talk about what kind of investments you're currently doing with a Roth IRA, a 401k, any stocks or bonds that you have, or cryptocurrency investments, or investments in individual companies that you might be doing, not on the stock market, anything like that. So we'll just say maxing out Roth IRA and Roth 401k. Also putting, let's just say, $1,000 a month into Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just a random amount into a couple of the blue chips, the big cryptocurrencies that a lot of people will invest in, because that's safer in terms of cryptocurrencies, at least. And then for skills, we want to tell GPT what kind of skills you have too, because when we're asking for financial advice, a lot of that can be what kind of business venture could you go under? If you want to pursue entrepreneurship to build wealth quicker than just working a salary job. And so we can say that John Doe is good at web development because he is a software developer, web development, artificial intelligence, and we can even throw in a couple other things there. We'll say that John Doe is also good at marketing. Maybe he's done some marketing for software products he's created before. So we'll just give a couple of examples there and see what GPT can do with that. And then for assets, we'll just say none at this time. Or actually, I'll make it even more interesting. I'll say that John Doe has an asset of digital real estate, which is any kind of following that you might have through a newsletter or a social media page that you could call that digital real estate, as well as things in the metaverse, of course, but I'm not going to focus on that here. So we'll say digital real estate, a Twitter account with, let's just say 7.5K followers, and YouTube channel with, let's say 5K subscribers. Talks about software development on both channels. So we'll give a little bit more here for GPT to do. I was going to say none at first because honestly, when you're a 25-year-old, that's the most common thing where you don't have any assets. But we'll make this a little bit more interesting so you can see what GPT can do with all the information you give. Like, even though I'm giving a lot here, it can create plans and strategies, give advice based off of every single little part of what I'm giving it, which is the most powerful thing about this, honestly. And we'll say a life goal. We'll just keep this simple to make this video a bit shorter. We'll say to retire by the age of 40, which is pretty young for retirement, but that's still pretty cool and doable, honestly, if you have a good plan starting out young, like 20, 25, maybe even 30. And so then here's where I'm going to do the actual ask GPT. So I've given it context, telling it the book and author that I want the advice to follow. I'm giving it all of my personal information so that the advice is tailored to me. And now I give it the ask. So I'm saying give a 1 year, a 5-year, a 10-year, a 20-year, and a 30-year plan based off of the advice from Rich Dad Poor Dad, personalized to me. And I'm telling it to give its opinion freely because I don't want it to say anything about how the advice is subjective, because I want it to really be direct and tell me what it thinks I should do based off of the context and my financial situation and lifestyle. And then I'm also asking for some practical starting points and some action steps that I can take to achieve financial freedom, because ultimately my goal is financial freedom so that I can retire by the age of 40. So let's just throw it in here and see what GPT can do. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit once it's actually finished generating the response, but I want to talk a little bit more about ways that you could spice this up as well before we actually get into the response, because I have to wait for it to load. So I could just pause the video, but I'll just talk a little bit more about what you can do with this. Going down back to the bottom of the prompt here, you can change this part up a lot. I think it's cool how much information you can get from asking it for a 1 year, 5-year, 10-year, etc. plan, but there's a lot of different things you could do. You could ask it to focus on a specific thing, like how can I leverage a business that I'm building to achieve financial freedom, or how can I leverage the solopreneurship journey I'm taking with my Twitter account to achieve financial freedom. There's a lot of different things you could do with this advice, because at this point, you have an entire book, an entire author, really, of context that you want financial advice based around, and you've given it everything that you could possibly imagine about yourself. Like, it has so much information at this point. It's more powerful even than like the robo-advisors that you see in companies like Vanguard, because that doesn't have everything that you can give here. You can give it exactly what you think it needs, and that's not something you can do in any other place besides with an AI model like GPT. So super powerful stuff. Anyway, let's go down to what it's generated for us here. For a 1-year plan, it says that, hey, we got a good investment strategy here, just continue with that. And then for assets, we can leverage our digital real estate, monetize the Twitter account and YouTube channel, and it even gives some suggestions for how we could do, which is super cool, and those really are good ways to monetize the Twitter account and the YouTube account. And then it says look for freelance opportunities in software development or AI. It could bring in additional income and diversify his income stream. I don't know if I'd agree with this necessarily. You might want to keep focusing on the digital real estate and really hone in on that. But I'm just going to go with whatever GPT is saying here because it is a legitimate strategy, just maybe not the one I would personally do. And then creating an emergency fund, very important, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And then continuing on to the 3-year plan we have here, continue to diversify investments. And this is going to be a theme for financial advice you receive no matter what. So this isn't necessarily personalized to me, but you can see a lot of the stuff already was. And then now it talks about buying real estate. And this is where you really start to see the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book shine through in the advice that GPT is giving here, because Robert, in his book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, talks a lot about investing in real estate as the main avenue to build up your asset column so that you can pay for all of your living expenses from the rent that you're getting in from renting out multiple real estate properties. And then also talks about learning new skills, like learning about investing in real estate and the stock market, which is really good because even as a software developer, when you're so focused in learning how to program, how to master tools and processes, it's important to learn a lot about other things as well, like sales and marketing, stock market investing. Even if you don't think those are as important, you still need those to really build towards financial freedom. Like, what's the point of building a good product if you can't market it, for example? You could outsource it, but it's good to be able to know how to do that yourself, especially in John Doe's case where he's building digital real estate anyway, and so marketing and sales will help with that. And then income streams. Make the side hustles and freelance work a more consistent source of income, maybe replacing the job at some point. And then a 5-year plan, more types of investment, give some examples there. Continuing in real estate, you'll probably see this for the 10-year and 20-year plans as well. And then at this point, the income stream is going to cover a significant portion of the monthly expenses. So what GPT is saying is between like the 5 and 10-year mark and the 5 and 10-year plans, you will have your assets built up enough with this plan to cover your monthly expenses. And 5 to 10 years is honestly not a lot of time. Like, you could achieve true wealth by Rich Dad, Poor Dad Robert's definition. That's pretty good. 10-year plan, I'm going to kind of skim past these because it's going to get really vague at this point. You just continue to build your real estate portfolio, continue to expand your skills, and really start to plan for retirement at this point. And then going to the 30-year plan here, at this point, you should be fully enjoying retirement, which for John, the 30-year plan, like 30 years after 25, you'd be 55, but it's saying that like even before that, you could expect to retire with this kind of plan. So this isn't surefire in any way, but it's cool to see how GPT can easily take a book for context and all of your finances and lifestyle and come up with a really clear plan for you. And you could even drill down on certain things, like tell me more about the real estate investing part, or tell me more about the digital real estate and how I could expand and monetize my Twitter account. And you can get even into more detail there. And then I'm going to tell it to continue to finish this prompt. You can see it gave so much information that it literally stopped generating the response because it hit that GPT limit. And so I had to tell it to continue in a separate prompt. And so now it gives pretty general advice, which goes along with the plan, like diversification, having minimal liabilities, educating yourself. It talked a lot about skills for that, marketing, sales, real estate, stock market, expanding your software relevant skills. There's a lot of important things to learn. You don't stop learning after college, that's for sure. And GPT understands that. Plans for taxes, that's a really important thing. And I'm proud of GPT for bringing that up, because a really important thing for building wealth that a lot of people overlook is understanding taxes. Being able to create things like corporations to minimize your taxes as you're building up a real estate portfolio, or doing things like a Roth 401k instead of a traditional 401k to maximize your tax advantage for when you take out money in retirement. There's a lot of different things with taxes. It's super cool that it understands that as well. And then some practical starting points. This is really important because these are things you can actually do right now. Like, you can create a budget right now. You can learn new skills right now. Learn about sales right now. Begin investing right now if you haven't already. Consult a professional for taxes, like it says right here, or even to learn a new skill, consult a professional. Networking, thinking long term, also really important things. Yeah, that's everything that I got at this point for getting financial advice from GPT. It's really a 3-step process. You first give context about a book that you really appreciate the financial advice of, or an author. You give it all of your financial information, your lifestyle, your dreams, your goals, and then you give that right hook. You give the ask. You say, with all this information that you have now, give me a ton of information about plans, about advice, starting points, action steps, all that stuff, and You can get so much information from GPT. Like in the example I had there, I literally had to tell it to continue because it ran out of tokens to continue the response for me. Super cool stuff. You guys could try this right now. Just take a minute, take this prompt, spice it up, make it your own, give it a shot, and see what kind of advice GPT can give you. No matter where you're at financially, what age you are, whatever, this will help you. And so give it a shot. And if you found this helpful, I'd appreciate if you guys would leave a like and subscribe and come back for the next videos I'll have on AI and software development. Thank you all for watching.